Hello world, my name is Tim Roswick, and today I'm with a special guest, Rick Davidson.
Hey, how you doing?
How's life, man?
Awesome, really good. Excited to be chatting with you today. It's been a while. I've been looking forward to this day for a long, long time.
I'm glad you're here. We're going to have a good chat about indie game development, all kinds of stuff. We're going to dive deep into the ins and outs of how to make indie games and how it all works, and some emotional stuff too. So stick around. Let's get into it, dude.
So I'm really interested because personally, for me, I feel that I've got a good handle on the game design part of things. And I think a lot of people think they do. Whether they do or they don't, they think they do. I know how to make a game. I know how to make an emotional game. This experience stuff you're talking about, Rick, I got that. It's all cool. Having it look different, I've got that. But where do I tell people about it? Like, do I make a Twitter? Do I do some Twitters? And I think that is what I see a lot of people getting stuck on, the mechanics of who do I tell? How do I tell them? Do I approach YouTubers and journalists? Do I try to get people to let's play my game? Do I go to conferences? Do I try to have a booth at an expo? What have you found, whether your games or people you've talked to, other indies out there, what have you found is a good first step effectiveness? Not the what does the Darkest Dungeon guys do, but what's the first thing that you think, like, make sure you've got a such and such. Like, that's the first entry point into your marketing machine.
Okay, I will tell you. The very first thing you got to do, no matter what you're marketing, is you got to separate your core concept. And we're starting a little conceptual, but I'm going to get tactical in just a second. Okay. You have to separate exposure from marketing. Those are not the same thing.
Okay, cool.
So we have to define our terminology here, because a lot of people, you say go do marketing, what they think is I got to get people to see my stuff. Yeah. That's exposure. That's not marketing. Okay? It's part of marketing, but it's not marketing on itself. So getting exposure is fine, but the problem is a lot like, okay, people try and go everywhere because they think the goal is exposure. Right? Yep. So they try in the Twitter, they try the Facebook, they try the Reddit, they try all the stuff.
Just spam it out there. Buy my game, buy my game,
buy my game. Here's get it everywhere. YouTubers, you know.
Greatest opening lines. You'll be happy to know my game is finished. I kind of don't care your game's finished.
Didn't know your game existed. Don't really care. Yeah. So
finally,
separate those two concepts in your brain. Exposure is necessary for marketing, but it's not marketing. It's part of marketing. Marketing is a bigger umbrella of exposure to sale. That whole process, right?
Yep.
So once you've done that, once you understand that, okay, just getting people to look at your thing does not equal them buying your thing, right? Like, you can start to understand, okay, what can I do to get people to buy it? And the way that you start that process is you start with the people that already want to buy it. You just got to find them. That's a big thing. So you are not looking for anybody. You are looking for people that are specifically willing to buy your game right now. And the best way to find those people is to do what's called a competitive analysis in the marketing world, and basically take the similar games to yours and just research the shit out of them. So like, I'm making a platformer, right? I probably should pick more relevant late examples than like Super Meat Boy, but that's one that everybody understands. It's a good comparison to my game. It's got kind of an emotional tale to it. It's got it's hard platform mechanics. It's got like instant restore. Like, a lot of the mechanics are the same. So a lot of people that are fans of that game would be fans of my game, just mechanically. So like,
okay, something you said just then has triggered something in my brain. If I've played Super Meat Boy and I dug it and I want another one like that, then I'm ready. Right. I wish there was another thing that I like that was like this game. Okay, cool. I'm following you.
You can cut out so much work if you just go after that person. Right?
Yeah.
Like, you can get in front of 1,000 people on some random YouTube channel or whatever, but if you get in front of 10 of those, you're going to do better. You know what I mean? Because they're like, they want the thing. So that's like the best, most effective way to do it. So you find a bunch of similar examples, and the easiest, I'll share the easiest way to like go from like thing you do to making money. Is to take say 5 or 10 games. You can go on Steam, you can look up similar tags, you can go on Google, you can look up similar genres. You can go and look at the related tags in like Steam, like this game is related to this game. You just kind of go down the rabbit hole and you find 10 games, and then you Google those. And there's actually a quick tactical thing that I can share. If you type something in quotes in Google, it'll only show exact results. So you can look specific, and anybody that's gonna Google search should look up all the shorthand stuff you can do on Google, by the way, because it's insane the amount of stuff, the way you can analyze it all. So then you can find every article, every YouTuber, every streamer that's ever covered those games, ever.
Yep.
You can get all of their email addresses, you can get all of their contact info, and after a week's worth of boring spreadsheet work, you can have a contact list of a bunch of people that have massive audiences that are willing to cover your game, that have readership that wants to buy the game, right? That's the most effective strategy by far.
That is massive. If someone is sitting there saying, I've got a game, what do I do? Step 1, find people who are already talking about a game that's similar to your game, and contact them and have a conversation with them. And there's a lot more we can talk about in terms of that stuff, but that's gold. That's way better than just shouting out into the Twitter universe, I made a game.
Like if you ever see a Burger King next to a McDonald's, next to a Subway, like next to all these different restaurants, it's because Subway says, hey, there are people that want food at lunchtime on this corner. We're going to move in there too. And then McDonald's does it, and all these places do it. And that's why malls exist, right? When Macy's and Sears and all these different places are there, they're not saying, oh, well, we're not going to move in there because Macy's is already there and they're going to take all the... No, that's where the people are. Let's all move in there and let's hang out and we'll share the people, right? Because there's more than enough than we could possibly imagine. I wish more people got that and had more of an abundance view on like, there's more people than you could possibly imagine. You just got to find the ones that are already ready to buy your game. That's one of those things that's like 90% of the result for 10% of the work. Like, just that's so like good. The hack, right? There's a bunch of other stuff you can do, but like that's like the most effective, easiest.
So I can see someone sitting there thinking, but my game is not as good as Super Meat Boy, or my game, why would they play mine instead of that one? Or if they've already bought Super Meat Boy, why would they also buy my game? And I think they're things that we put in the way. They're just conversations we tell ourselves because we're a little bit worried our game's not good enough. And I think as a creative, your game's never good enough. It's like like your baby. You're like, my baby's not, it's a little bit, I wish it didn't quite look as ugly as I do. I wish it was a little bit whatever. Like it's never going to be perfect. You just have to trust that what you've done is good and give it your best shot.
I spent 4 years on a platformer because I was terrified that I was making a horrible game. And honestly, I could have done it in 6 months and it would have been just as good. Like people, what I realize is this, and I realize this kind of self-analyzing myself and like working with a bunch of other people that will message me about similar issues because I post that kind of stuff on my YouTube channel. Like if you're afraid to market your game, you're afraid to show people something, you've got one of two problems. Either the thing is objectively really bad, and that's the reality of it. It's just really bad. I know it. Yeah. Or you have a self-esteem issue where you think the thing is really bad. You think that the creative thing that you made that came from you is just bad. And it's usually one of those two issues. And most of the time it happens to be the self-esteem issue because even like the bad, there's no way to define that. There's no mathematical formula to define what's good or what's bad. And what I've realized is like things that I think are objectively bad. Like for example, I launched an indie game in February, learned a lot since then. I watch people play through it, and there are some, like, what I see some objective design flaws, right? Like, okay, they went there, they didn't see that thing. That means it's bad to me. Like that, and I could argue that point to other people and say, see that thing? That's bad. But they don't see that. They don't see that piece of it. They see the experience. They say, I had fun playing it. They talk about the experience that you were talking about. Like, it made me feel great. I love the way you did whatever. Like, so even that, even if you can objectively, define why things are bad, that doesn't mean someone still can't have a good experience playing it. It's crazy how that works out. I spent so much time trying to make my game great, and look, that's not even like a achievable thing.
Yeah, I think there's steps as well when you can figure out, is my game bad, okay, or good enough to release. Like there's those kind of, I think they're macro like that. You don't need to be saying, is it as good as the best game? Don't make that comparison. But if you show your game to your friends, and it's a real arm wrestle to get them to play it and try it. Like, come on, man, just give it a shot. Hey, can you try it again? And they're like, I'm busy. I got stuff going on. Then there's the first barrier. Right. Friends tend not to say this is a bad game. They're like, yeah, it's cool. Yeah, hey, woohoo. And so they give you this feedback that you think it must be pretty good. The test with your friends is if you give your game to your friend and your friend doesn't want to stop playing it, then you're onto something. If you give it to your friend and they don't even want to try it, then you've got an issue with that kind of love at first sight issue. Maybe the graphics don't quite look right. They don't quite understand it. Maybe it's the game is a bit confusing. So maybe there's an issue there in communicating that. If they play it for a minute and then give it back to you, then you've got an issue with your gameplay, with the game being compelling, with creating an experience. So you can get a lot out of your friends from that. And then in terms of sharing it with other indie developers, same thing. If you share it, you show it to people. Here's my screenshot Saturday, and here's my 20-second video of what's going on, or here's my pitch, or here's what I've got, and you get 3 likes and no comments, then your game's not ready. It needs to have enough people, more than just 1 or 2, at least a handful of people saying, hey, that's really cool. Keep up the good work. I'm looking forward to that coming out. So I think that's what you can get. Like, that's about all you can get out of those groups. And then it's getting it out there. Just putting it out there, trusting, even if it's here's version 1, I'll do a sequel later on, and learning from the feedback, listening to what people say. And I know for me it's tough. A lot of what I do nowadays is making indie games for fun, but also making indie games so I can teach people how to make indie games. So a lot of my courses, which are on Udemy, have a feedback mechanism, which is great. 19 people, you're awesome, Rick. I love this. 1 person, Rick, you suck. This is awful. This is I'd rather stick a needle in my eye kind of thing. And I think it's that negative feedback that is the most valuable. Like, why did you hate it? Is it because I spoke too fast, spoke too slow, took too long to get to the concept? Could you not understand me? What was the problem? So embrace the negative feedback. Don't, put aside the fact they've called you a name or they were nasty about it. They're clumsy with their feedback, but they're giving you the gift of, here's how you can improve.
I feel like that's it for this conversation. Rick, dude, I really appreciate you having a chat with me.
My pleasure, Tim. Thanks for having me along.
We're going to put all of your links and stuff in the description. Is there anything specific you wanted to share with people?
Yeah, just come check out my YouTube channel, and also if you're interested in learning game development stuff, I'm part of the Game Dev TV crew, and we have our courses over on Udemy. You can check them out. Just, you know what, I'm so proud of the fact, just give me 10 seconds to have a proud moment, Tim, is that a couple of years ago, I would Google for my name, Rick Davidson, and I was way down the bottom, and Rick Davidson, the CEO of Century 21, I think, this big real estate company, he was at the top. I'm like, Rrr. But nowadays, if you type in Rick Davidson, you get this guy for the first few, so plenty of ways to track me down and to consume more of my nonsense.
Moving up in the world. All right, well, Thank you for coming out, dude. And if you guys want more of Rick and me, you can go to his channel. We have a special video on his channel as well, so you can check that out. And see you there.